recent reporting from Tucker Carlson on Friday, and then Miranda Devine in the New York Post today about the case of Thomas Matthew Crooks, who obviously shot President Trump. Whether or not he acted alone is still in question. We have had so little information released about the investigation into Thomas Crooks, and into this vacuum, new reports from Tucker Carlson and Miranda Devine entered. Now, on Friday, Tucker reported on source material. And I want to focus on these sources in particular, Evita, because there's a lot to break down about where this information may be coming from. So Tucker posted about a 30-minute documentary on Friday. Everyone should go and watch it. It is a pretty quick thing to consume. He said, quote, "In late September, we received a tip from a source. He told us he gained access to some of Crooks's accounts. Tools commonly used by private investigators were part of how the source got his or her hands on the information." And Tucker said the key lead was using Crooks's phone number, which was listed in documents that had been obtained from America First Legal, obviously Stephen Miller's group, before he went into the administration. Now, Miranda Devine's report sources this information to, quote, "an enterprising source who uncovered Crooks's hidden digital footprint." The source told Miranda the danger Crooks posed was visible for years in public online spaces. His radicalization, violent rhetoric, and obsession with political violence were all documented under his real name. The threat wasn't hidden. So, Evita, some of the information that was uncovered by the source who used, again, we're talking about private investigator tools, certainly what the FBI would have had access to at the bare minimum, and we certainly know the FBI would have had access to more, even via subpoena power. You have public posts on an account associated with Crooks's phone number and email that start as being pro-Trump, and then in 2020 flip to being virulently anti-Trump. The pro-Trump posts, or the pro-Trump era in Crooks's life, is very violent. He's posting explicit calls for violence. It would be unimaginable to think this hadn't tripped someone's radar up at the FBI at the time. Maybe they really are that bad. I actually doubt that, but the FBI, either way, said after, this was when they were testifying just a couple of weeks after, Miranda points this out, a week later, so this is a week after the shooting, this is a week after Chris Wray told Congress that the Bureau had found nothing in Crooks's online history that, quote, pointed to a motive or political ideology. A week later, Wray's deputy, Paul Abate, told Congress that comments posted on one of Crooks's social media accounts, quote, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes to espouse political violence and are described as extreme in nature. We now know those comments started in 2019, especially, as being sort of anti-immigration, anti-Semitic, and then became violently anti-Trump, and that was not disclosed. Are you buying, Evita, that they only had seen Crooks's posting that was sort of right-coded pro-Trump?
I mean, I'm not buying it at all. I mean, this is the Biden FBI who told us that Christopher Wray testified to Congress, and he essentially lied by omission by not telling us the full picture, that this kid starting in 2020 became radically anti-Trump, violently anti-Trump. I think what Tucker Carlson is calling for here, if you watch the video, there's a lot of information, but really good information. It's really succinct. We just want to know the truth from this FBI. We've got really bad information from the Biden FBI. Now into the Trump FBI, we're asking for information. Who were the FBI agents who were at the gun range that Thomas Crooks also happened to go to? Did they ever make contact with him? Was the FBI aware of the violent rhetoric that Thomas Crooks was espousing under his real name? We have surveillance. Our federal agencies have surveillance for this kind of rhetoric and behavior online, and they certainly compile lists of people to watch out for. Were they aware of him? And if not, why weren't they aware of him? These are like very simple questions that can be answered readily by our current FBI. And for some reason, Kash Patel has told Congress, specifically Ron Johnson, who's been asking for this information for a long time, my senator in Wisconsin, that he can't give the information because there's a trial, an upcoming trial. Well, I don't know who they're prosecuting because Thomas Crooks is dead.
Well, another detail from all of this is, well, actually, why don't I just let Tucker Carlson say it? Let's roll this out of Tucker discussing Crooks' online presence.
The digital comments we obtained were posted between 2019 and 2020, when Thomas Crooks was between 15 and 17 years old. They show two things. First, that Thomas Crooks was not some secretive lone wolf who never warned anyone that he was planning violence, just the opposite. Second, they show a man who started out as a radical Trump supporter whose views on the president changed completely during COVID. The FBI lied about that fact and pretended that Crooks was a right-winger. At 1:17 a.m. on July 20th, 2019, Crooks commented on a CNN video. He said Donald Trump was the literal definition of patriotism. 7 hours later, he commented on an MSNBC video. He wrote, "I hope a quick, painful death to all the deplorable immigrants and anti-Trump congresswomen who don't deserve anything this country has given them." That these sorts of comments continued for months and became increasingly violent. And yet, in early 2020, Crooks seemed to change radically. On January 23rd of that year, he referred to, quote, Trump's stupidity. In February of 2020, he called out Trump supporters as, quote, too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are. I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times. Later in August 2020, Thomas Crooks issued what sounds a lot like a digital manifesto. Quote, "In my opinion, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you.
Make it onto
Track
the
down
FBI's
any
radar.
important people or politicians, military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them."
Okay, so it's very hard to believe the FBI had evidence of the right coded stuff that Tucker just went through from 2019, and the trail just died when he flipped left and was talking about like terrorism plots openly in YouTube comments, which are absolutely surveilled in 2020. Like that, if it is just an unfathomable, none of that makes sense whatsoever. And what happened to him also doesn't make sense. I mean, Tucker points out that some of the source material shows he has interaction with someone named Willie Tepes, who is linked to a European Antifa group, and that Crooks's YouTube comments seem to stop after the interactions with Tepes, who also seem to be encouraging violence on behalf of Crooks. I mean, this story has gone from weird to weirder. I mean, it's gone from weirder to even weirder, basically, hasn't it?
Well, and Willie Tepes, I guess, is part of a group, a foreign group that has been declared by the State Department as a domestic or as a terror organization, I guess a foreign terror organization. So I would presume, and this is what we're saying, we would presume that the federal government would be surveilling the communications of American citizens with declared terror organizations. Again, it doesn't make sense that they're completely unaware, that they've been completely unaware of any of this. And to the credit of the current FBI, they haven't said that they weren't aware necessarily. They just haven't said anything. And I think people are getting antsy. I think the president of the United States is frankly getting antsy. Miranda Devine has reported out in the piece that you mentioned in the New York Post that the admin is not happy that we haven't had any answers on these questions. I think they deserve them. Somebody, I'm looking at your live chat right now, Emily. Somebody commented MK Ultra, and I don't know if it's MK Ultra, but I will say his behavior is quite bizarre. I don't know if they really discontinued MK Ultra or if they got the information they needed and the program still continues. It lives on. Maybe our CIA still uses it to radicalize people. We don't know. And the point is that there's no trust. And so to just say, and this current FBI, trust me, bro, we got it handled. There's not much here. He's a lone actor, and we got it handled. It's just not going to be enough.
MK Ultra, of course, a reference to the confirmed CIA program that was experimenting on unwitting American citizens with drugs for years during the Cold War. And that's where I think Tucker was alluding to why Crooks's body was cremated without the county coroner, who said he would have been being aware of what was actually going on in this case. Would there have been toxicology that could have been challenged or raised questions? And that sounds wildly conspiratorial, and it seems extremely bizarre and hard to believe. But Evita, actually the entire story is hard to believe. So I'm wondering, obviously, You know Dan Bongino. I don't know if you know Kash Patel. You probably know Kash Patel, but what are you looking to see from them going forward in this case?
Listen, I know Dan. I don't know Kash. I've met Kash once, but I don't think that either of these men are trying to hide the truth. I don't think that, because I remember when the assassination attempt happened, and I'm somebody who can uniquely speak to this. I mean, Dan was horrified, and we covered it every single day for months. Like, on his show, he was relentlessly covering the story. Like, you can look back at the archive of Dan Bongino shows, and he cared about this topic very deeply, and he was furious about what happened. I just think we need more transparency. And I also want to point out, as we talk about all of these issues, Jeffrey Epstein, Thomas Crooks, even the pipe bomber, which we're not going to get to tonight, but I mean, this is another issue that's been kind of going viral on the internet. They're probably dealing with a very hostile agency. We have two good guys who were in at the top, and we can't, deny the fact that there is probably a lot of inaction. You're dealing with something that happened under the Biden admin, and who knows what information is left, if any at all, that could point to a conspiracy if there is one. I don't know. I know that Dan cares about this issue, so it's hard for me to say Dan is in on some sort of conspiracy, as some people are suggesting, because I just don't believe that that's true. But there are so many weird things, Emily. So you're right. He should have not have been cremated so quickly, because then no other agencies other than the FBI were able to actually look into his body and do their own report or do their own investigation. You had the FBI like cleaning off the top of the building the very next day. Why were they doing that? Usually, I guess, according to Tucker Carlson, they have that job outsourced to a third party, but the FBI themselves under the Biden admin did this. The parents of Thomas Crooks, interestingly, very lower class individuals. They couldn't pay for his funeral fees, but for some reason they've been able to acquire a very high-end, expensive lawyers to represent them. How did that happen? Who's paying for it? There's so many questions that are unanswered, and trust me, bro, is just not going to cut it.
Have you ever read the label on a typical chip bag? It is a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, dyes, and vague, quote, natural flavors every time. Vandy Crisps are part, though, of a growing movement to bring back real food. So with just 3 ingredients, 100% pesticide-free potatoes, sea salt, and grass-fed beef tallow, that is what you will find on the back of a Vandy Crisps bag. It is an amazing experience to taste the chips, discover how great they are, and then look on the back of the bag. There's no junk. It is just real food. They taste amazing and leave you feeling light, energized, and satisfied with no crash, bloat, or mindless binging. My favorite flavor is, of course, barbecue, but they're all great. And if you love Vandy, you'll love Masa Chips, Vandy's sister brand. Their 3-ingredient tortilla chips are the best I have ever had, and my go-to flavor is lime, but I also like the churro flavor for dessert. So if you're ready to give Vandy or Masa a try, use code AFTERPARTY for 25% off your first order at vandycrisps.com or masachips.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. If you don't feel like ordering online, Vandy and Masa are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket, so stop by and pick up a couple bags before they're gone.